Hey guys, Dr. Jim Stoppani here, and I'm coming from you in my home gym in Los Angeles. For those of you who watch my videos that I do, at least the ones where I'm in my home gym, you're probably familiar with this background here. And I thought this would be a great place in case any exercise questions might pop up and if I needed to demo anything. But let's start right in with some questions. We've got an hour here, so I'm going to try to get through as many as I possibly can for you guys. Before I begin, I just want to thank you all for joining me here today, but also for the long-standing support and love that you guys have showed me through too many years to actually admit. So, but thank you all. I really appreciate the support. Can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to do what I do. So let's get in here with a question from Greg Kowalski. And I'll read the question first. Dr. Stoppani, I've been lifting for a little over 6 months. After some of my sets, I'm not getting pumped. Should I be lifting more reps with lower weight or less reps with higher weight? Or should I not be worried at all about the pump? You know, it's an interesting question because if you remember the movie Pumping Iron, Arnold was quoted for that famous line about the pump, how good it feels, and I won't go into the details for you guys. I'll keep it cleaner than that, but everyone loves that quote. Now, yeah, the pump feels great. We talk about supplements that help increase the pump, but how critical really is the pump when we're talking about the actual physiology of muscle growth? Well, it can be important. There is some evidence that muscle pump, and let's talk about actually what a muscle pump is. What is a muscle pump? People think it's due to the blood flowing to the muscle and the muscle being engorged with blood. That's sort of it, but what really happens is your blood is a high percentage of water. And when you're exercising and you fatigue a muscle, you create waste products within that muscle. And there's what's a concentration gradient. If you ever remember your science class where you talked about osmosis and you had, higher concentration on one side and the water flows in. It's sort of similar to that in the fact that when you're fatiguing, you have all these waste products in those muscle fibers. The water from the blood is drawn into the muscle, and that expands the muscle cells, and it places a stretch on the muscle membrane. And there's some evidence, it's not very strong evidence though, that stretch, there's receptors in the membrane that actually acknowledge that stretch and realize that, well, the muscle is being stretched, so it needs to grow. So it increases muscle protein synthesis to actually grow bigger in the long run. Now, that's a nice theory and all. How realistic is it? We really don't know. One of the things I tell people is that we really know little about muscle growth. We have a lot of theories, but the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. So is the pump, let's get, sorry I go on these tangents and sort of get off course, but back to how important is the pump. It's, in my opinion, the pump is not what you should base your entire workout on. You should be basing your workout on how much progress you're seeing, even for muscle growth. When we're talking about progress, I'm talking about, are you able to do more reps with a given weight? Are you able to go heavier for a given rep range? Those are sort of the things that signify that you're making progress, along with the actual measurement of your muscle mass and measuring your body fat, making sure that it's lean muscle gains, not just body fat you're gaining. So to sort of summarize my answer is, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about the muscle pump. If you're not getting a good muscle pump, that doesn't mean you had a bad workout. For example, if you're going to do a 5x5 program where you're doing 5 sets of 5 reps, you're not really going to get a good pump with 5 reps per set because it doesn't cause enough fatigue in the muscle fibers to create enough of the waste products to really draw enough fluid into the muscle and engorge those muscle cells. But it's still a good workout. It's still a good workout. So my recommendation to you, and this is something that I always say, is variety always wins. There's no one best way to train. It's always about variety. So you should be going very high reps in some of your workouts. Yes, high reps, that's going to cause greater fatigue in the muscle fibers, especially if you're keeping your rest periods fairly short. That's going to create a better pump. Is that any better than going super heavy with longer rest periods? Not necessarily, especially in a periodized program where you're mixing up your rep ranges. And that's really what you should be doing, is constantly changing up your rep ranges. So again, sorry to take so long on one question, but I like you guys to have some of that background. So let's see what else we have here for questions. Here's one on carbs. This is from Vladimir Kovton. Hope I pronounced that your last name fairly close, Vladimir. I believe me, I know I get that all the time with Stoppani. I get Stoppani, Stopponi, but anyway, it's all good. So hopefully I didn't butcher your name too bad. So he says, "Hi Jim, love your work. Would like to hear more on proper timing of carbs around the workout. What is the optimal carb to use as intra?" Well, carbohydrates, there's a lot of theories about carbs and whether there's a true post-workout window or a workout window, even a pre- and post-workout window. One of the things I like to do as a scientist is I don't rely just on the research that's done in the labs, because a lot of times when you look at just the research that's been done, was the training even intense enough for those subjects? When you're following programs that I put together, these are very intense workouts. So, a workout where they came into the lab and did 3 sets of bench press for 10 reps and 3 sets of pull downs for 10 reps and 3 sets of the leg press for 10 reps and 3 sets of curls, and then they looked at carbs and maybe other supplements, what have you, to figure out which one was better. That's not really a workout, quite frankly. And if those were trained subjects, they were actually undertrained on that workout. So it sort of flaws that entire study. So I'm a big believer in not only just looking at the science, but looking at what's actually happening in the gym. And, well, I won't say thankfully because it ages me, but I've been working many, many years with clients, world-class clients, but also, the average. I value the work that I do with the average Joe and Jill, if you will. That's who I want my advice to go to. Sure, I can help world-class athletes get even better, but I like working with regular people who just want to be fitter and feel better. So because I do a lot of online stuff, and through the magazines that I was working with and Bodybuilding.com and my own website, I'm able to get data. And now it's not controlled data like you do in a lab, but when you're working with people who follow the same pretty much diet and you're tweaking around their exercise programs and their supplementation, you get a really good take on what's going on. And I've been able to, over the years, compile data on hundreds of thousands of people. And so this is what I like to look at. So as far as carb timing goes, my personal rules on carb timing, and other experts can argue, and that's fine. But I'm telling you what works in my situation and what I've seen over the years is that a slow carbohydrate before you train. One of my favorites are fruits for that, because with the fruit, when you have most fruits are about 50% fructose. And again, I'm going to apologize for going off on these tangents here, but hopefully you guys are, getting some good information out of this, as opposed to me just giving a quick answer and then moving on to the next one. So we'll probably get through fewer questions, and I apologize to those of you whose questions I probably won't get to, but you guys know where to get me on Twitter, and I pretty much get to almost everyone's questions on Twitter. So back to the fruit. Why do I like fruit pre-workout? Because fruit, like I said, it's about 50% fructose, and then the rest is glucose. And it varies slightly depending on the fruit, but overall it's about 50% fructose, 50% glucose. Overall, most fruits are what we call low glycemic fruit. It's because of the fructose, because fructose isn't really readily used by the body. So when you consume fructose, even though it's a sugar, meaning it's a simple carbohydrate, because it doesn't immediately get into your bloodstream and travel to muscle tissues, it doesn't get into the bloodstream, so it doesn't spike your blood glucose levels. It has to go to the liver first, and then from the liver, and I won't bore you with the biochemistry, it eventually gets converted to glucose, and that's why it's a very low glycemic. And that's good and bad, and I won't get into any of that for this question. So fruit has a very slow component, meaning it's going to provide you that energy that's going to last long throughout your workout. But fruit also has that glucose, so some of it does get immediately into your bloodstream. It doesn't cause a huge spike in blood glucose levels, but it does give you a nice little bit of glucose there for your energy. So you get a little bit of a quick hit of energy, glucose, and then you get the longer lasting with fruit. I really like apples for the fact that apple polyphenols, which this is sort of a hot topic now, but if you look back way in my early Muscle Fitness Raw videos, I did a video comparing the apple to the orange for a pre-workout and why I like one over the other. You're comparing apples and oranges, if you will. But I like the apple because those polyphenols have been shown to enhance muscle strength. So going with a nice apple, you want to go with an orange, that's great too. Berries are great, what have you. So, but I like a fruit pre-workout. Post-workout, I'm a fast carb kind of guy, and people can debate the evidence on that, but trust me, from my own perspective, what I've seen is that it makes a huge difference in recovery, especially following my workouts. People feel much better when if you're using my post-gym with the post-gym dextrose as well, which is one of the fastest carbs that you can consume. It does make a difference. People feel better immediately after the workout, which makes a big difference. They can go on and go to work and feel better, and it makes a big difference in muscle growth. And if you're consuming creatine and carnitine, which you should be post-workout, having that fast-digesting carb like dextrose is going to cause an insulin spike, and that's critical for getting that creatine and carnitine into the muscle fibers. We have the research. There's no debating the fact that carnitine and creatine it's essential to get a fast digesting carb with them to really optimize their uptake at the muscle. So those are some of the reasons why I like fast carbs immediately after your workout. But Vladimir had a question about intra-workout. Now, my personal opinion is if you do your pre-workout slow digesting carb, if you do your post-workout fast digesting carb, you really shouldn't need an intra-workout. However, if you do like to have an intra, it's your choice. You can continue with more fruit, but it's a pain to be eating during your workout. So dextrose works great as well for intra because if you continually sip on it, it'll give you a steady, a steady supply of energy because you're continually sipping on it. So I'll try to end there before I can go on probably for this entire session on just this topic. So hopefully, Vladimir, that answered your question, and hopefully you guys got a little bit out of that as well. So let's continue with some more questions here. And here's one from Jared Did we do it? That sounds familiar. Sorry. Let me continue here. So this is from let's see. That one wasn't quite making sense. Here's one from Christopher Colleen. Do you have any? This is different. That's why I like to pick this one up. Do you have any tips for building up motivation to work out during winter blues? I'm eating right and I've been working out, but it's so cold and overcast. I can't seem to really get in the mood for working out harder. And again, that's Christopher Colleen. Well, you know, I live in Los Angeles, southern Los Angeles, and right now it's mid-70s here in LA, and sunny as can be, which is one of the reasons why I live in LA. I absolutely love that year-round I can be outside and have beautiful weather. But I'm from the East Coast. I grew up in Connecticut. I did my undergrad in Connecticut, went down south for a while working on my master's, and back to Connecticut for my doctoral work and then my postdoctoral work before I moved out to Los Angeles to work with Joe Weider at Muscle and Fitness. Well, what do you do about winter blues? And like I said, I understand because I lived it. So, you know, obviously one thing is I'm drinking pre-gym, which definitely can help with motivation, getting you psyched up for your workout, so give that a try. But as far as supplementation-wise, you really need to be getting adequate vitamin D. You want to be getting vitamin D3, especially during the winter months where you're not getting much sun exposure, because as many of you know, that in your skin, the sun will help your body actually produce active form of vitamin D. But in the wintertime, and I take vitamin D year-round even though I live in Los Angeles because it has multiple benefits, one of them being mood enhancement. It also has been shown to be associated with testosterone levels in males, and we know it's critical for the uptake and utilization of calcium. And that's just barely getting into the many benefits of vitamin D. But you want to make sure you're taking the right form. Like I said, vitamin D3 has been shown in research to be far more bioavailable, meaning it's taken up better by the body and utilized by the body than vitamin D2. So make sure you're getting a D3. Make sure you're getting enough. I recommend at least 2,000 IUs of vitamin D3, up to 6,000 IUs. Some experts even recommend as much as 10,000 IUs. I feel somewhere in that 2,000 to 6,000 range is absolutely plenty, but make sure you're getting at least that much. And it can make, like I said, a huge difference for multiple reasons. Also, make sure you're getting adequate healthy fats, particularly the essential fats, the omega-3s. I'm a big believer in using fish oil as my source, because with a plant-based, you're not actually, with a lot of people understand with omega-3s, your main form is DHA and EPA. Now, when you take a plant-based like flaxseed or flaxseed oil, you're not getting the true DHA and EPA. It has to be converted into EPA and into DHA. And there's some debate over how much gets converted into the body. So I'm a firm believer in just taking it from the fish oil. You get actual EPA, and DHA doesn't have to be converted. And if you look at some of the research on fish oil, not only can it help with mood and mental function, but also, and obviously fat loss, as we know, but also muscle growth. It's really important for muscle recovery and muscle growth. And what it looks like right now is that you need about 1,500 milligrams of DHA per day. Now, that doesn't mean you should not get any of the EPA. For that, I usually recommend getting at least an equal amount of EPA as DHA. But if you try to get about 1,500 milligrams of DHA per day, you'll have benefits of, like I said, muscle growth, fat loss, better mood, better cognitive brain function. So, but make sure you got to, you got to look on your fish oil, because a lot of them, it's usually like 1,000 milligrams or a gram per capsule of fish oil. But if you look at the DHA, it might only be 150 milligrams of DHA. Well, you do the math there. To get 1,500 milligrams, you're going to have to have 10 of those a day. So try to get a higher potency fish oil, and that's one of the things that I am actually formulating as we speak. Here is a high potency fish oil that will provide 1,500 milligrams from DHA and 1,500 milligrams from EPA, so that you only have to get 4 capsules of fish oil per day to get what you need. So again, before I continue going on and on, I'll stop there, and I hope that answered your question, Christopher. Here's one on carbs again, real quickly. This is from Gallegos or Galleg0S, and what should the first ingredient be in gummy bears for post-workout glucose? And that's dextrose. That's one of the reasons why, getting back to that fast carbs that I was talking about, you want to go with dextrose, and that's why post-gym is pure dextrose. What I like about gummy bears is the Haribo gummy bears and other brands of gummy bears use dextrose as the first ingredient, and that's, dextrose is basically glucose, and glucose is what your blood sugar is. So that'll get immediately digested and absorbed into your bloodstream and help with your recovery. So make sure it has dextrose as the first ingredient. Here's one from Paul Lauren. And what are your thoughts on elimination type diets that avoid certain food groups such as paleo, no grains, no dairy, or even the whole gluten-free craze, even if you don't have celiac disease? I'm really not a big believer in elimination diets. A lot of people ask me about paleo, and in my opinion, paleo is, look, it's fine for the average person, because it gets them on some sort of scheduled eating plan. The biggest step for most people, probably for most of us who have tuned in here, we already have some knowledge of nutrition and follow a decent nutrition plan. But for people who literally just, most people who aren't fitness minded wake up and, it's basically, I'm going to eat whatever I'm hungry for in the morning, or I may not eat. And then at lunch, if I have time, I might eat lunch, or I might go grab a bag of potato chips. And then for dinner, I don't know, I'll stop off at, name the burger place and have a burger in front. There's no real thought process into their nutrition. There's no thought process into fueling their bodies. Yet, these same people might, be very picky about the gasoline and the oil that they put into their car. They're more interested in fueling their automobile than fueling their own body. Fueling themselves is an afterthought. So if you take them and put them on any structured diet, you name it, paleo, whatever you want, they're going to see results, because now you've put them on a proper eating pattern of some sort that was better than what they were doing, which was no real rhyme or reason. So, but I'm not a big believer I'm a big believer in balance. That's really what I'm a big believer in. Eliminating certain foods, you hear all this stuff about dairy, which in my opinion is absolute BS. If you look at the data, people like to talk about the China study. Look, this is what I call propaganda. People take their data and they make a story out of it that fits what their propaganda is to sell what their theory is. It happens all the time in science. Believe me, that's one of the things that I found most unappealing about actual science when I was in academia, is the fact that you have scientists who have this theory that they've been working on maybe for decades, and instead of trying to debunk their own theory to find out really the truth, they sort of design studies that further their theory. So it's really not doing science any good. Because why do they do that? You'd think, well, they're scientists. They should be trying to look for the truth. No, they're trying to get funding. And if they debunk their own theory, well, the funding that they've been getting for years is going to end now, possibly. So, you know, a lot. Again, I'm getting off on these rants, but you know, when you talk about dairy, look, dairy is the absolute most anabolic protein. It's that simple. For numerous reasons, and I could get into the biochemistry of milk protein here, but we know it's high in branched chain amino acids. We know that there are certain peptides in there, in the whey protein, in casein protein, that are critical for muscle growth, for health reasons as well. There's nothing wrong with milk. Sure, we can talk about how our dairy cows are handled, but if you're using grass-fed dairy in what we call grass finished dairy, which means that, you know, a lot of times they'll take grass-fed cows and then towards the end they put them on the grain diet to fatten them up. But if we talk about truly grass-fed cows here, there's nothing wrong with that dairy. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's the most animal. So an athlete who's interested in muscle mass and strength gains going on a paleo diet and eliminating dairy is simply ridiculous, and absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. And then the other thing is eliminating sugars. Well, dextrose is a sugar, and post-workout is the best time to get it. Like I said, I already talked about that. Why? To boost creatine and carnitine uptake, which is going to enhance the, you know, the benefits and the athletic ability of that individual. So an athlete going paleo and eliminating their dairy and sugar, particularly, and I'm not saying you should be eating sugar all day long, I'm just saying post-workout, is a bit silly in my opinion. So I'm not a firm believer in at all in elimination diets. I'm all about balance. And another problem with elimination diets is the fact that, you know, when you take someone who might be in their 30s or even their 40s or even their 20s, you know, you've been taught to eat a certain way from your parents. So you have certain foods that, you know, have emotional ties, that are comfort foods, that it's very hard to tell that individual, you can never, ever have that again in your life. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, obviously, things like trans fats, we know you want to try to eliminate those. But look, if, you know, every once in a while you want to have a donut, for God, what's, you know, if you're, as long as the diet the rest of the time is clean, having a freaking donut on a Saturday is not going to destroy your health and your gain. So, no, I'm not a believer in elimination diets. I'm a believer in balance, in working with somebody to allow them to have the foods that they like, obviously in moderation and at the proper times. That's really what my my beliefs are. Okay, let's. I'm trying to get to some, you know, a variety of questions instead of harping on the same things with carbs. And here's one. This is from Steve McConnelly about cardio acceleration. And let's see. See, there it is. Wait, where'd it go? Sorry, my feed bumps up. This was on a question on. Let's see. He asked a couple of questions, so I keep finding his other one. Where was it? It was on cardio. Here it is. Do you do cardio acceleration on day 4 and shortcut the size? My legs are gone after squats. Should I push through and do cardio? I get it in the other 3 days. Yeah, definitely do cardio acceleration. You know, cardio, let's talk about, and, you know, instead of just simply going, oh yes, do it. You know, I like to give you guys a little more feedback and some of the science. cardio, for those of you who aren't familiar with cardio acceleration, make sure you go to Bodybuilding.com and look up my shortcut to shred. Even if you're not going to do the program, just go on there and read through the training overview to read about cardio acceleration. Cardio acceleration is basically doing about a minute. You can tweak it if you're about a minute of cardio in between all your sets. So you're doing the bench press, you do your whatever your rep range is for that day. Let's say it's 10 to 12 reps. You rack the bar. You immediately do a minute of some form of high intensity cardio. It could be doing bench step-ups right on the bench there at the bench press. It could be just running and simply running in place. It could be some kettlebell swings. It could be jump rope. And then after that minute, you could take a quick breather, and then you go back to the bench press, do another set, and then back to the cardio acceleration. Sounds crazy, sounds intense. It sounds like it goes against convention as far as muscle growth, but you know, if you asked me 5 years ago, well, maybe a little longer than 5 years ago, if that would work, if that would interfere with strength gains and mass gains, I'd probably say, yeah, it's probably not a smart idea. However, looking at, there was a study that was done where they looked at recovery when they had individuals do this in between sets, and they found that they were able to recover faster after the workout, for the next workout. And then I started playing around with it, because really cardio acceleration is what's called active rest. Instead of just sitting there between sets, you are actually doing something that's different from the exercise that you're doing. So your pec muscles and your arms are resting while you're running in place using your legs. So it's not really interfering with the bench press. Now, for a person who's very unconditioned, it's going to interfere because you're so winded and tired now, and you've really spent your body. But what happens with cardio acceleration when people start this is the first week they're zapped. You know, they feel weak when they do the bench press or any other exercise. But then by week 2, because they're actually doing active rest, and active rest can actually enhance recovery between sets, they find that suddenly they're actually getting stronger and they feel better, and they're able to maintain better reps. So if they're doing, say, 3 sets on the bench press of 10 to 12 reps, and typically, let's say you did the bench press 10 to 12 reps, then you rested a minute or two, and then the next set, you're a bit fatigued, you probably can only get about 8 reps, and then you rest a minute or two, and now you're even more fatigued, so on the next set, even though it's the same weight, you're only able to get 6 or 7 reps. When they do cardio acceleration, once their body has adapted to it and is actually enhancing their recovery, they find that they're better able to maintain their rep range. So maybe set 1, they got 12 reps. Set 2, they got another 12 reps. And then set 3, they were able to get like 10 or 11 reps a lot of the times. And that helps with strength gains. So as well as muscle growth, because you're getting more reps with that same weight, which makes a big difference. So cardio acceleration is something you definitely should consider using for a number of reasons. And it's phenomenal for fat loss, absolutely phenomenal for fat loss, because after the workout, it keeps your metabolism so elevated that you're burning more calories and more fat after the workout is long over, and you're at work, or you're sitting in the desk at school, or you're at home just sitting around. That's the real key to the fat loss with cardio acceleration. But on leg day, if you're doing a lot of those leg exercises, step-ups, you may get zapped. So I actually have a video that I post every once in a while. It's on using different ab exercises, core exercises for cardio acceleration, particularly for those on leg days who feel really fatigued when they're doing the leg exercises. And this involves things like wood cable or band wood choppers done very explosively, very quickly and explosively. My band roundhouse elbow, if you've ever seen that one. You could also do that with cables. Try to do, or even hanging leg raises are also not a bad exercise to do. But you can essentially do, like I said, sort of very quick and explosive ab and core exercises. However, you probably want to try to do those on your feet because that helps with the active recovery. When you're lying down on your back, like doing regular crunches, probably not the best way to do cardiac acceleration because it's been found for active recovery to not be as good, quite as good as standing exercises. So, like I said, I will, if you follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, I will later today post that video on using those ab exercises for cardiac acceleration so that you can see them. Well, let's find another one here. Here's one from Alan Barton. I have done shortcut to shred and am currently doing super shredded A. Some people say you should do abs every day, but your programs don't do that. How often should I work abs? And this is a common question that I get. So for those of you who are familiar with super shredded A, that's one of my other popular fat loss program. It's actually great for muscle growth as well if you're not following a fat loss diet. That's only available on my website, JimStoppani.com. But to focus on the question about training abs. The abs, okay, well, your abs are muscle tissue, much like your biceps are muscle tissue, like your pecs are muscle tissue. Can you train any muscle tissue every day? Well, one of my newer programs, the Daily Grind, actually has you training every day. Each muscle group, you're training every day for 5 days in a row. Can you, let's just talk about muscle recovery in general, let alone ab muscle recovery. Can you train a muscle group every day? Yes, you can for a period of time. You know, like I said, I'm a firm believer in variety and variety of all things, not just exercises, not just weight use, not just rep ranges, not just training programs, but variety of training frequency. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're shortcut the size, you only train each muscle group once a week. But isn't it better to train each muscle group twice a week? No, not really. It's actually, sure, and if you've always been training a muscle group once a week, yeah, it might be better to now train a muscle group twice a week. In many of my programs, if you look at my programs, you know, like I said, shortcut the size, you train each muscle group once a week. Shortcut the shred, you train each muscle group twice a week. Superman program, twice a week. Back and forth, once a week. Daily grind, you're training 5 times a week. 5 times a week, each muscle group. So it's really about variety. And then, you know, we know like I said, we know very little about muscle growth. We know very little about muscle recovery. As far as strength goes, you know, there's been some research to suggest that you need, what they do is they basically test subjects and they have them, you know, they do their 10 rep max, okay, and then they have them figure out their 10 rep max and they put them through a workout that's fairly intense using that weight, that 10 rep max weight. Get a lot of fatigue. And then every day they measure them on that 10 rep max. So day one, after the workout, let's say it's the bench press, with that same weight, they're only able to get 8 reps with their 10 reps because they're still recovering and they're a bit compromised. Day 2, they might be back around the 9 to 10 rep range. Day 3, they're back. So based on that research, they're saying, okay, now they're fully recovered, so it requires, you know, 2 to 3 days of recovery. Your best bet is to allow your muscles a good 2 to 3 days. Well, there's data on strength, like high-level powerlifters training a lift every day, and strength gains were through the roof compared to those who weren't training every day. So, like I said, there's a, it depends on what you're looking at. And like I said, from a scientific standpoint, we really know very little at this stage. So you can't always say, oh, well, the data shows. No, one study or even two studies don't show much when, you actually see in the real world people doing it and seeing results, or you see a study that sort of shows quite the opposite. So my bottom line there is I'm a big believer in variety, like I said. Instead of just hanging your hat on one theory and saying, oh, you need 2 to 3 days to recover, no, mix it up. Variety is really the rule. So with abs, yeah, I would treat them like any other muscle and mix up the frequency that you train them. I train them, maybe twice a week sometimes, 3 times a week sometimes, maybe train them every day. But, make sure you're not doing the same exercises, the same rep ranges every single day. Make sure you're mixing it up. You're using some resistance and doing low. I recommend reps down in the 5 to 6, 7 rep range for abs sometimes. And, of course, reps up in the 30 rep range. So I'm a big believer when it comes to ab training to periodize the weight and the reps that you're using, just like any other muscle. So I hope that sort of helped answer that question, Aaron, and didn't run off too much and make you even more confused than you were before you even asked the question. So let's look for another one here. Here's one from Paul Lauren. What do you think of whole body split workout of upper body 2 times a week and lower body 2 times a week versus individual body part splits? And again, comes right down to variety. Yeah, that's great for a time being, but you shouldn't always train that way. Like I said, with my daily grind program where you're training 5 days a week, that's a whole body workout that you're doing 5 days a week. In some of my other programs, you have doing a whole body workout 3 times a week. But here, where did the question go? If you're doing upper body and lower body, that's really not a whole body. That's actually a upper body, lower body split, which is a 2-day split versus a whole body where you're actually training your lower body with your upper body. But that's fine too. I like upper body, lower body splits, or 2-day splits, if you will. I like a 2-day, calling it a 2-day split versus upper body, lower body. The reason I don't really like breaking it up into upper body and lower body is because if you break down your upper body, you're talking about chest, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps, traps, if you train them, forearms as well. And then, we're talking about 7 different muscle groups. And then with lower body, you're talking about basically quads, hamstrings, calves. You can say glutes, but really you're training, when you're doing squats, most of us, that's our glute training, unless, you do specific glute exercises, which a lot of people do. So let's even say, okay, we have glutes. That, it's sort of an imbalanced training because you have a lot to do on those upper body days. You're focusing on those muscle groups, and then a little to do on the leg day, even though you essentially half of your body. So what I like to do is like a 2-day where you're doing maybe like your torso muscle groups, chest, shoulders, back, and one day, and then the other day you're doing limbs, legs, and arms. So it's a little more balanced on how much time you're in the gym each of those days. But either way, like I said, variety really rules. That's great too. But always change up your training somewhere between every 6 to 12 weeks about. So yeah, that, like I said, I really want to emphasize the variety here. There's no one way to train. The best way to train is the way that you're currently not training. That doesn't mean stop what you're doing right now if you're on a 6 to 8 week program. I'm just saying after those 6 to 8 weeks, your best bet is to move on to something else. So if you're doing my shortcut to size for 12 weeks, a lot of people repeat it and right back, and they do see great results because there's so much variety within shortcut to size. But personally, I don't do that. I move on. That's why I have so many other programs. I would move on to one of my other different programs or any other program just for variety, because that's going to make a big difference. Then go back to shortcut to size if you want. Let's see, we have 15 minutes here, and I know I answered like 2 questions basically because I'm going off on it. Don't worry, like I said, you guys get me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter and on Instagram as well, and I'll be doing this plenty more with Bodybuilding.com. So let's see. I'm trying to find. Here's one, Jesse Parker. How much sleep a day should a person get who's working out? You know, sleep is a very individual thing. You know, there's many famous people who are well known for, you know, sleeping like 2-3 hours a night, or people who literally like sleep an hour or 2 a night and then they nap during the day. Sleep is a very individual thing, and you know, like with muscle growth, sleep is one of these things that we know so little about. The sleep researchers will tell you, it's, you know, there's so little that we actually know about sleep. You know, we really don't even know why we need it. You know, there's a lot of interesting data coming out that shows it allows us to sort of take our thought processing and sort of, you know, build, you know, if you're studying, like, it's not good to study all night long and then walk right into your exam. You should actually study and then sleep, because while you're sleeping, your brain is actually sort of processing and sort of storing, if you will, that information and sort of making more sense out of it. So we know that sleep is important for mental function, and clearly, you know, you feel like crap the next day when you don't sleep, so we need it for there's physiological reasons, but we're not quite sure why precisely yet. And that's the great thing about science, is we're, you know, as we learn more, we realize we knew even less than we knew, but we're learning more. So sleep is a very individual thing. You know, the best way to measure sleep is, you know, do you feel rested in the day? I probably get personally, you know, I have children, 4 children. One's in college, one is about 2.5 years old. So I'm up quite early because he's my automatic alarm clock. But I'm also up late at night on social media and, you know, writing articles and editing video and formulating products. So, you know, I try to get a minimum of 6. If I can get at least 6 hours of sleep, I'm pretty good. I'm really good doing that. If I get 7 hours of sleep, I'm really good. If I get anything less than 6, like 5, even 5.5, that next day is just not going to be the best day for me. So, you know, you really have to find out sort of what your limit is on what you need for sleep. You know, if a lot of people, if they sleep 10 hours, they actually feel crappy because they got too much sleep. So it's really an individual thing. If you want to just put a generalization on it, you know, try to get around 7 hours of sleep if you can. How realistic is that in today's world when, you know, we have busy lives? Many of us who have children who are, you know, getting up early. We have, you know, busy work schedule. We're up, you know, late at night, either working or we're up late at night trying to have fun because we had to work all day. So, you know, realistically, somewhere around 6 hours minimum. I mean, like, that's personally for me, but optimally in the 7 to 8 hour range. You always hear that 8 hours of sleep. 8 hours of sleep, you know, generally speaking, is probably, you know, the best number to hit for. But some people really don't need 8 hours, and if you gave them as much time as they wanted to, they wouldn't even sleep that long. So, like I said, you know, try to do your own research on what works best for you, and then try to hit that. And that's, you know, going to be the best for your overall health, for your muscle growth, and even for fat loss. You know, research shows that when people get less sleep, they have a higher risk of obesity. So it's even important for fat loss. Let's try to get into another question. We've got 10 minutes here. Wow, we've got a lot of questions here. Okay, here's one. Here's a beginner question. This is from Kurt Howard. I have completed your beginner to advanced program. You can find that on Bodybuilding.com as well as JimStoppani.com. I'm 175 centimeters, 176 pounds. He's saying he's 26% body fat, but that's on a weight scale, which doesn't necessarily mean much. I have just been repeating phase 4 of the program since I finished. What would you recommend to do now? And this is a good question for any beginner. If you haven't, if you're just starting, go to bodybuilding.com, find my beginner to advanced bodybuilding program. It's a great sort of 12-week fast track program that'll get you from, a very green beginner to, a fairly intermediate weightlifter, and you'll learn a lot about training, resistance training program design, because you'll see how it changes each phase. So what should he do after? Well, Kurt, if your main goal is muscle growth, I'd recommend going to my Shortcut to Size program, which is also at bodybuilding.com. Another one of my free programs has a complete program. You can watch me do the workout through the videos. It has the nutrition and supplementation program as well. Everything you need. It's a great all-around program and really a good next step for you to follow. And even if, a lot of people say, well, my goal is really fat loss, so should I do Shortcut to Shred? Shortcut to Shred is very intense with the cardio acceleration and the way that you're training. However, with Shortcut to, what I like about Shortcut to Size is that it really teaches people about periodization. It's, you learn something while you're actually training, and it keeps you from getting very bored. Not that Shortcut to Shred doesn't, because it also has some of that involved as well. But I really recommend going next to Shortcut to Size. If you want to use Shortcut to Size and focus more on fat loss while you're gaining size, muscle size, and strength, you simply adjust the diet. So you take that diet and you use fewer carbs than it has in the program. Maybe go down to 1 gram of carbs per pound of body weight, depending on your diet. If you follow me on social media, like I said, on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, I often post my Dieting 101, and that's a great article that not only teaches you about dieting for fat loss, but really teaches you how to take your own diet and build your own diet and take your dieting in your own hands, your own nutrition program, and build it for yourself based on the way you're currently eating. So you can look for me to post that. I post that a lot. And follow that during your Shortcut to Size program. And then cardio is the other critical component. I would either add some high-intensity interval training to Shortcut to Size, and I do that even if my goal is mass gain. You want to have that cardio component because you want to take care of your heart as well. It's very important to not just look fit, but to actually be fit and take care of your cardiovascular health. And high-intensity interval training is one of the absolute best ways to do that. So add some form of HIIT either right after the workout is over or on the rest days, or a little bit of both. Try to get at least 4 days a week of that. Or you can take cardio acceleration and add that to my Shortcut to Size. That's how I do Shortcut to Size when I do it. I incorporate the cardio acceleration because it's so efficient. You don't have to add any extra cardio after the program's done. So go on the Shortcut to Size, Kurt, and make sure if you follow me on Twitter, you have questions as you go. I'm there to answer them. And I'm one person, so if I miss one, the nice thing is there's a massive group of Gym Army members on Twitter that will help to answer your questions on the ones that I miss. So highly recommend following me on Twitter. Like I said, if you have a question, you will definitely get an answer. All right, we've got about 5 minutes, so let's find something that is a little different. Okay, here's one from Tom Jacobs, who's an old guy like myself. Jim, not calling you old, Tom, but I'm calling us both old. Jim, keep up the incredible work. I'm 48 years old. I have been working your programs for 2 years with great success. I also use all your products. What would you use for joint help at our age? Also, is taking ZMA at bedtime the only recommended time? I think this is a two-part question because it seems like he said it seems and then it runs off. Anyway, I think I can assume what he's asking. Okay, so I'm 47 myself, Tom, which is why I'm calling this old, and I know how you feel. So as far as a joint product, what I really like is a good curcumin product. If you go to Life Extension, use their BioCurcumin, which has enhanced bioavailability, meaning it's taken up by the body and utilized better. And curcumin, which is basically the active component in turmeric, is well known, well researched to have anti-inflammatory properties. And can help, definitely makes a big help with joint recovery. Another good supplement to take is UC2. It's basically U, capital C dash Roman numeral 2. This is basically a chicken cartilage extract that has some really interesting research behind it, and from a personal perspective and what I've seen in the real world, works very well. Take that as well. And again, Life Extension has a very good one there that you can take. That one, the curcumin, you typically will take with food, but the UC2 I would do without food. It's best taken without food. So you can even take it sometime around nighttime when if you're taking your ZMA, which is your next question. But then also glucosamine and chondroitin work quite well. So focus on those 4, and then also quercetin works great. If you're using my Alpha Gym at 48, which you probably should consider if you said you do use the product, so I'm guessing you take that. You're getting your quercetin there, so you're covered there. As far as ZMA, I get a lot of questions on ZMA. As a matter of fact, my ZMA product, ZMA Gym, launches today at Bodybuilding.com. Should be, for those of you who are waiting on it, keep checking back. It's in all their warehouses. They're just getting the store page all set up. So once their digital team has that set, they're going to set it live, and they're telling me it should be this afternoon. So check in for that. When my ZMA has bioperine added, and bioperine has been shown to enhance the uptake of zinc and magnesium, meaning more of that zinc and magnesium that you're taking in is getting absorbed and utilized by the body. So that's the real key to my personal ZMA products. But with ZMA, do you have to take it at bed? Well, it's typically recommended to take it sometime, before bed, within the, a few, you can either take it immediately before bed or up to an hour before bed without any food, because you don't want the zinc and magnesium to, its absorption to be undermined, because other foods, particularly the foods rich in calcium, will decrease the uptake, particularly of the zinc, and even there's other components in different foods that will decrease the uptake. So you want to take ZMA without food. Why at nighttime? Well, here's a couple things about ZMA. ZMA is not a testosterone booster, and it's not a sleep supplement. Now, Is getting that dose of zinc and magnesium good for your testosterone levels? Absolutely. The 30 milligrams of zinc, 450 milligrams of magnesium for males, taking in that form, especially when you have the BioPerine added, has been shown together and individually by themselves, zinc and magnesium, to be important for testosterone levels in males. It's absolutely, but it's not a testosterone booster in the fact that you're not it's not a product that you say, oh well, my testosterone's fine, so I don't need to take it. No, it's the best way to get zinc and magnesium, and zinc and magnesium provide a ton of. They're absolutely essential minerals that you need. This is just the best way to get them. So whether you need to boost your testosterone or not, you still want to take ZMA. And then ZMA is not a sleep supplement. So it's not a supplement that you only need if you have trouble falling asleep or if you want to aid your recovery by getting better sleep. The reason it's recommended to be taken at night is because it's easier to not eat before bed. But also magnesium has been found to actually enhance sleep quality. So it can enhance sleep, but it's not essential to take it before bed. You could take ZMA any time of day as long as you have a window where you're not eating it. So let's say you took it after lunch. Just wait an hour, at least an hour after lunch, and have it an hour before your next meal, and you're good. You can take it. It's not going to cause you to fall asleep. It's not, like I said, magnesium enhances sleep quality, but it doesn't mean you have to take it right before you go to bed. So, and no, it's not going to make you fall asleep if you take it in the middle of the day. So you can take ZMA during the day. So unfortunately, it's just a minute past 12. I'm really sorry for you guys and girls that I didn't get to answer your questions because like I said, it's hard for me to just give a quick little, here's your answer without really giving you some real good facts and background. So I get to fewer questions, but I hope you all found it very interesting and enjoyed, the information that I sort of just, gave out there without any real planned, structure to this other than just answering questions. But like I said, get me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are the places you can go, and you'll get your answers to your questions, I promise. And I will be at the LA Fit Expo, the Fit Expo in Los Angeles Convention Center, February 7th and 8th. I'll be at the Bodybuilding.com booth both Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 12, and then from 2 to 3. And then don't forget about the Arnold in Columbus, Ohio, at the beginning of March. I'll also be at the Bodybuilding.com booth there. And for those of you who aren't in the U.S., I'll be at the Body Power Expo, also at the Bodybuilding.com booth, and I'll be at FIBO in Cologne, Germany, which is actually before Body Power, in April. Body Power is in May, and then don't forget the Olympia in Las Vegas in September, where I'll also be there again. Bodybuilding.com booth. So thank you, Bodybuilding.com, for giving me this pedestal today to talk to you guys, and I really want to thank you guys for joining me, getting me your questions. Apologize for not getting to everyone's questions, but thank you so much for your support, and look for me again right here on the Bodybuilding.com Google Plus Hangout. Thanks, guys.